Hey everybody, this is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. We are currently in the dog days of summer right now. It's hot, it's humid outside, mid to late August, but as we inch closer to Labor Day and the fall season, it becomes that magical time of the year for most of you parents out there, and that is when you send your kids back to school. And with kids heading back to school, it presents a unique opportunity for us to take advantage of that situation and think about some clever ways to follow up with our current clients and potential future clients by taking advantage of the start of the school year. So we're going to call this episode Getting Back to School with Your Clients, and we're going to cover this topic with my special guest. She is the Vice President and Sales Leader of our Rosemont office and literally just got back from dropping her daughter off at college. She is Wendy Civitella. So let's get right into it with Wendy, and we'll pick it up on the other side. On the podcast today, I am very excited to have my friend from the main line, Wendy Civitella. Wendy, always good to see you. It's a pleasure talking real estate with you. How are things down on the main line?
They are great, Jason. It's great to be here. I want to thank you. First of all, when I got the phone call, and I guess because I have kids and who knows, but I was just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. I listen to your podcast. I spend a lot of time, well, probably not as much time as I should, but enough time at the gym with you, listening to you and all of the different guests. Most recently, I think maybe Debbie McCabe, just inspiring people. And I think in this business, we always need to kind of reignite ourselves. And you do a great job for the company. And I know that the agents always reach out to me and say, I love that. I'm so glad you introduced me to it. So thanks for doing what you do. It really makes a difference.
Well, thank you so much. And if you do listen to the podcast, then you know I am an extremely big fan of flattery. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. So you and I have a very timely topic to cover today, and that is getting back to school with clients, which is very clever. And since it's that time of year where kids are heading back to school, many of our clients have children in all stages of life. So we got newborns, we have toddlers, tweens, the dreaded teens out there, all the way to college-aged children leaving the nest for the first time. It also happens to line up with our post-Labor Day push in real estate following the lazy dog days of summer, if there are lazy days anymore with this market.
Right.
And so we'd like to focus today on covering 3 topics to help maximize your business to coincide with the new school year. So let's start with topic number 1, and that's focusing on getting back on track for the remainder of the year once the kids go back to school. So Wendy, why is it important that we refocus ourselves now that kids are back in school? And what are some things to help us dig in for the remainder of the year and refocus our energy back to our business?
Great question and great time of the year. My favorite time of the year, as I think most parents would say, back to school. Woo! I mean, like the dog days of summer, like you said, we don't have them like we always have historically because of COVID kind of changed the world and we are working 24/7. Our agents are exhausted. So a lot of people take the time, regardless of whether we have it or not, during the summer to unplug. Parents are forced to. We're forced to change our entire schedule to drop them off at camp. And then every 2 hours, they have to get somewhere else. It's a nightmare. So I never liked it with my business that I lost all of my structure over the summer. And you have to, because we believe that family comes first, and it should. It absolutely should. So what do we do? At the end of the summer, I think it's a great time to just take stock. Take a look at what you're doing. Take a look at what you did to build the business and what might have kind of slacked off. Take a look back, but we're not going backwards. We're going forward. So don't worry about what you have gotten out of the habit of doing. Just start to get back to the habits, because we all know that the activities that we do build the pipeline. And I can go back and look at 25 years of real estate and it goes up and down. And I can tell you exactly when, like I had a baby or I had a bad year because of some kind of health issue or whatever. So summer does that to us. And whether you have kids or you don't have kids or you have grandchildren, they distract us. So let's look at the year and chunk it down like the 12-week year, Brian Moran. I don't know. You know him. You
I
love
love
him,
it.
right? That
It's one of
book
my
is
favorite books. Yep.
it's awesome. So instead of taking the year and saying, hey, I'm behind right now, or maybe I'm ahead and it's time to kick back, take a look at the goals, maybe reevaluate them, and look at the last 12 weeks of the year and reignite. So I think back to school is back to work.
That's a great point. I mean, and it should be thought of in that way, right? Because like you had said, just when it comes to kids, and you may have other stuff in your life. Like I know for me personally, I think I'd mentioned on a previous podcast, I was heading away on vacation, right? So I went away for my anniversary in July, and I feel like I lost the entire month of July. Like we were gone for 8 days, but really when I got back, I'm just catching up on what I already kind of lost while I was away. And so right there, you're losing 2 solid weeks. And before I know it, it's August, right? And now I'm behind the 8 ball. And I can imagine with children, and especially with younger children, with their schedules. And I know so many parents nowadays have to run their children from one place to another. It's a constant thing. You know, when I was young, my mother just drugged me everywhere that she went. So I didn't have a choice. I was with her. I was, in cars at showings. I was at open houses with her. Like I was like an appendage on my mother when I was young, and she just drugged me everywhere. But it's not that easy nowadays. So now that the kids are back in school, let's refocus our energy for that last push for the fourth quarter of the year. I know we're not quite there yet, but I feel like Labor Day, it's almost kind of like a restarting point for the remainder of the year. So let's refocus our energy, get back on track, look at your numbers, look at your business plan. Where are you? Like you said, don't look back, look forward, and maximize what you can for the rest of the year. Does that make sense to you, Wendy?
Absolutely. And I think it is. It's a great time to refocus. And your mom drug you around and you became a realtor.
It's disgusting. I know. I hated real estate so bad when I was little. I can't believe that I ended up where I ended up. Quite honestly, I almost feel like it was destined to be,
Well, it's funny. I wonder if we did like a survey of everybody in the company. Like, how many people do you know? The kids are in the business, the parents do it together. It's in the blood, because I think once you get into it, you love it. I love this business.
I do too. And you know what the strange thing about that is, just to get off topic a little bit, is that I always like to ask newer agents when they start, what did they do prior to real estate? Because very rarely does anybody grow up in life and say, I want to be a realtor, right? When I grow up, like who does that? Like, so I always like to know what people have done prior to getting into real estate, because sales is hard, right? It's not easy, but we are a special breed of people. If we truly love this business, I do think that there is a very noble cause behind what we do. And you really, truly grow to love real estate.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Great question for people that are new in the business, though. What did you grow up wanting to do?
Yeah.
I think that it makes us people. Like, we're all about the relationship, right? So we're relationship based. And that's why this is another good opportunity. This back to school, if you watch social media, I mean, I just dropped off my youngest at Clemson. She's going to college. That's it. We've spent 23 years raising kids and having them in school. And that's a huge deal. And the people that have reached out to me, it means the world to me. And certainly people like things, but that's one of the things when you're on social media and people like it. That's one way. It's great. People notice that, but engage with those people, because the people that have reached out and called me or texted me or even wrote messages there, they stand apart. So take that lesson and put it into your business, right? So now we've refocused ourselves and we've got this really unique opportunity that it's back to school, and all of our people, our sphere, our friends, people that have bought from us, sold from us, are putting and posting different things on Facebook or Instagram or whatever medium that you're using. I would say take notes, like go into your CRM, make sure you know your people and how many kids they have and what age they are. And this is a great opportunity to get that information if you don't already have it. And I don't know, Jason, you're a lot younger than I am, so you might just take mental notes, but I can admit my mental notes are not as good as they used to be. So my CRM is really important. My phone, my contacts on my phone, putting notes on my phone, because it's so nice. Imagine if you got a personal note saying, hey, I know you just sent your first one off to kindergarten, and I was thinking of you because I know it's bittersweet. Hey, would you like to have coffee? Let's, meet for coffee after you do drop off. Something like that. So it gives us this amazing opportunity to do what we already want to do, but we might not structure into our lives as well as we want to. Reach out to those people in your sphere and touch base.
You know what? You just gave me a great segue into our second topic today, which is the unique opportunities and untapped opportunities for us as agents with kids going back to school. What are some ways, you have mentioned a few, but what are some more ways that we can use kids going back to school to reconnect with our clients, provide some value to them, and hopefully gain some business for the home stretch? You have mentioned a couple, so let's get into that further. What else can we do to use this opportunity to reconnect or touch base with our clients?
It's as we started to talk about this topic, when you requested that I come and talk with you, I was like so excited that as I started to think about it in the 11 hours that it took to get back from dropping my kid off at school, I was excited. Like, I almost feel like I need to get out there and do Popeyes myself, because there's a million ideas. When you start to Google it, Popeyes about back to school. So a couple of them were like, they gave those, those Smarties candies. You remember those little Smarties candies?
Smarties, yeah.
Yeah. Have a great school year, Smarty Pants, and saying, happy back to school. A silly thing like that. You look on Etsy, you look on Oriental Trading has these apple bags. They're little apples that look like back to school, and you can fill it with back to school supplies and drop them by, say, have a great year. There was one that said, looking forward to a bright school year. Your referrals are the highlight of my year. So I think Popeyes are amazing, and people love it when you take the time to go a little bit out of your way. It's uncomfortable because you kind of feel a little whatever. And people I know always say to me, well, I did the Popeyes, but I dropped them at the door and ran as fast as I could to the car and drove away. But the stories of, oh my gosh, I had somebody answer the door, and then I had a conversation, and then they had a friend moving into town. I can't tell you how many of those I've heard. So take the opportunity and know that it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, which is good to get a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And it's going to pay back so much to you in your business. So Popeyes are opportunities. And like I said, personal notes based on what stage of life these guys are in. I mean, everybody loves to talk about themselves, right? And so if people love to talk about themselves, it's music to their ears to hear their own name. It's music to their ears to hear their children's names, and that you spent the time to care, and wrote that little note because you watched on social media that this was happening. So I think Popeyes, I think personal notes, I think, you're talking about getting back to school. So you also have all these opportunities where, think about this teachers that you have in your sphere, reaching out to the teachers and saying, have a great year. What you do makes such an impact on people. Thank you for what you do. Maybe you have Popeyes of gratitude to the teachers. I also was looking at the list. Today's show had a list of everything you're supposed to do to get back to school. And I was like, oh, that's kind of timely, right? I think it was on yesterday after you and I had touched base. And they talk about schedule and how the kids have to get back on schedule. I mean, maybe you drop by and have those eye patches that the kids can wear to go to bed early so they can get up at the ungodly hour they have to get the bus, and empathize with the parents that are trying to make them move out of bed, before 8 a.m.
I agree with you. I had a couple colleagues yesterday I was meeting with, and they were getting their Popeyes ready for the school year. And they had such great ideas, and it gave me energy. And I'm thinking, I need to step up my game. I really need to start getting some stuff out there for the school year. And Popeyes is one of the things that I do during the year. It's a whole thing, right? Because you have to go out, you have to get your supplies, you have to think of an idea, you want to coalesce around something clever, like you had mentioned before. And then actually doing it probably takes me 3 days, I want to say, because I'm driving all over God's green earth. I'm like all over Montgomery County, Bucks County. So I have to strategically think about my Popeyes, but it's such a great idea. And I love your personalized notes. I love reaching out to the teachers. And this also presents an opportunity for us now that those kids are back in school. Parents tend to have a little bit more time. So it's an opportunity to reach out to talk about getting something on the schedule with your people about doing your yearly client reviews, right? So it doesn't have to take place, say, in September, but if you reach out to them, it gives you a reason to reach out and say, hey, listen, I'd love to get something on the books with you in October, right? Let's go over our yearly review and talk about what your home is worth at this point in time. Another thing is, and you and I had talked about this yesterday, it's an opportunity to grab some lunch or grab some coffee with your clients now that the kids are back in school. Let's try and get together and get face to face with our people, because right now listings are at such a premium that I feel like we really need to get like toe to toe with people, right? To work that networking angle. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think the more FaceTime we can get, the better. And people are starving for it. Everybody wants it. So I remember hosting a coffee for all of the parents in a couple of my kids' classes back in elementary school. Great way to get to know the people. And by the way, everything that you do should be authentic to you. Because if you love what you're doing and what you're engaged in, you're going to attract people that you also can work really well with and for. And it's just going to spiral. It's just going to grow your business and grow your business in a direction that also encompasses the quality of life that we're all looking for, right? So do things that are authentic to you. If your kids are, amazing musicians and they're in bands and things like that, you're going to be hanging out with the parents that have kids that are similar to that, right? If you love music and you're involved because you don't have kids and you get to be involved in the schools and maybe giving back, that's a great angle. Or if it's sports, we talked about sports, or if it's something else that your kid loves, dance. I don't know. I found that my relationships that I built, it wasn't totally intentional because I didn't have enough of this. I didn't have Jason's podcast to listen to every week, right? But it wasn't intentional, but I did what I love to do with my kids. And when I was on the sidelines, I made these great friends, and it built the community that built my business. So I think it is. And then back to school, back to sports, back to everything, whatever the kids are doing.
Well, we always talk about people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? What better opportunity do you have than getting to know people organically through what our child may do or be interested in? And I feel like that's one place where maybe we don't take advantage of that enough because we may not want to come off a certain way. We're always afraid about kind of getting that we call quote unquote commission breath with people, right? We're getting aggressive in our pursuit of real estate business, right? So, and again, this leads us into our third topic that we want to talk about today, and that is that we're going to get involved in our children's interests, whether we like it or not. By default, we're driving our kids around. We're involved in Little League. We're involved in dance. You mentioned some of these activities that children have. Now, it may sound nefarious to want to get business out of it, but is it really? I mean, most of us take a great interest in what our kids do activity-wise. And so why not try and work in some networking while you're at it? So, Wendy, what are some things agents can do to get more involved in the scholastic community in order to further participate in something your child is into and get some business out of it as well? We talked about a few things. Let's get further into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I said this to you the other day, and I don't mean it to sound crass, but they're the most underutilized asset we have if you have kids, right? I love my kids, and my kids knew what I did for a living because I did it full time. They watched me go crazy at 9 o'clock at night in the middle of negotiations. They watched me drop by Popeyes. They were in the car. I had Dum Dum lollipops, those little lollipops, a huge bag in my Suburban in between the front seat and the passenger seat. And I had 3 car seats in the back. And if I had to talk to an agent, I went pop, 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 put dum-dums in their mouth.
That is a veteran realtor move right there, I gotta say.
The fact they have any teeth at all is like shocking. But anyway, they survived, they built grit, and they negotiate absolutely everything because they're like sponges. They take it all in. But they also would go to sleepovers and talk about if somebody said they were moving, my kid was like, "Oh, my mommy moves people. That's what she does. You should call her." So they're underutilized, but again, be authentic to what you do. I mean, I was on the hockey rink at 5 a.m. in the morning. I never missed hockey because it was at these extraordinarily inconvenient times. So I never had a listing presentation. I always chose that straw, the short straw, and ended up on the hockey rink, on the lacrosse field, or at the horse barn with my daughter. And I quickly learned that people love to talk about real estate, and that's the best segue into telling them what you do. And if you're confident and love what you do, it shows, and people are attracted to you. So give them the opportunity, dress the part, all right? Show up like you just came from a closing everywhere you go, whether you're going to the Halloween school parade or you're going to T-ball at 4:00 in the afternoon. Go home and get dressed like you came from a closing, because people are going to ask you, "Wendy, why are you all dressed up? What did you?" "Oh, well, I happen to have." And then all they want to do is talk real estate. It's the greatest thing in the world. So I would do that. And I would also make sure, somebody taught me this in one of my early real estate classes. I don't remember what my email address was at the time. I think it was like agentcivy@verizon.net, right? So don't email me there, by the way, agentcivy@verizon.net. And they said, don't be a secret agent. You want people to know what you do. So if you're in school with kids, you're always on these different distribution lists. Use your Fox and Roach email. Use whatever brokerage you're with. But when you're here in this area, your Fox and Roach email is going to stand apart, because everyone knows what Fox and Roach is and respects the brokerage. So they're going to say, "Oh, you're a realtor," because they see you in that list and they see that email address. Use that all the time in correspondence, dress the part, and participate. Be there. I know you want to be there. Don't feel guilty being there instead of being in the office, because that is your network. That is the community that you're building, right?
I mean, it's so true. I can't think of a better opportunity that you have to connect with people than by getting involved in what your child does, right? There's going to be parents everywhere. That's the client that you want. That's the gift that keeps on giving. You gave me an idea when you started talking about this topic, that just giving your kids, a stack of business cards and just tell them to randomly drop them everywhere that they go. That's another idea that I have out there. I already think about doing that in like grocery stores and like different places that I go to, like somehow work my business card into like a box of Cheetos or something like that. So we talked about a couple things there. I want to mention some things that I have done recently to kind of get into that sphere that we're talking about. So one is, a buddy's daughter runs the school newspaper, right, where she is. And so I pay for ad space in her newspaper every, and there's 6 issues per year. So bi-monthly it comes out, and I have this huge ad in the school newspaper. I also sponsor Little League, either sports teams, or I have a big billboard in the outfield for years. I used to live in Skipback and Palmer Park, which is like a mile away from me. Some of you out there probably know that park. My face was prominent in center field. I always wanted to be right in the center of the field. So I used to get into this every year. I used to fight people off for this premium space. But I used to do that every year. And like you said, don't be a secret agent, right? There are subtle ways to work what you do for a living into the conversation without people even knowing it. And you and I were talking about this yesterday, that the way I always like to approach that is I always like to ask people, how's business? And they usually always say, "Oh my God, I'm so busy. It's crazy out there." And I say, "Yeah, I can relate. I'm in real estate. It's crazy now too," right? organically happens, or people think that it's organic, but you're planting that seed in their mind to start that conversation because everybody wants to talk about what their home is worth right now. And, I just some ideas to get into. And Wendy, I think you give us a great amount of things that we can think about doing when we're with our children and when they're doing these activities. So is there anything that you would like to add further to this topic before we get into our last and very important question that I have for you?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm wondering what that question is, but I do want to talk about the worth of the house. You said, okay, they want to talk about what their home is worth and tie that in to your homework of building that CMA and the information on those clients. Because if you're sending your kid to kindergarten, you're in one stage of life, right? If they're going into middle school, they're getting bigger, they're taking up more space. I had 2 boys. It was like we were popping at the seams. So they're wondering what their home is worth, and they're transitioning in their life cycle. And then if the kids are going to college, then all of a sudden the home's empty. So how is that relating to where they might need to be, whether they want to downsize or whether they need to upscale or whether they need to tap into that asset that you're not interested in selling. You're their real estate consultant on everything, right? So you want to be able to tell them what it's worth because they might need to pull equity out of that home in order to send the kids to college. So you're a huge asset that throughout their life and the changes in their life cycle, you're going to want to be there and remind them that you're the best person to help them with that asset. So yeah. I just think it's important to take those notes, and if you don't already know where they are, make sure you're paying attention on social media. Boy, what a tool. Can you imagine if we were realtors like 60 years ago?
Oh my God, it's a godsend. And to your point, you're growing with them. I think one of the coolest things about real estate is when we have a client, they have a small child, they buy their first house with you, right? And you get to see those children grow up. I keep thinking about one client that I have. When we started looking for a house years ago, her son I think he was about 8 years old. And he was this tiny little kid, and he was really, really cool kid, and we really connected. Now he is like 8 feet tall. Like I don't even comprehend how big like this child is now. He's not a child anymore. He's a man, and he just graduated from college. And it's astounding to see just, you in the blink of an eye, children grow up. And we grow with our clients, and to be there for them, we need to think long term. They are our clients. They're not our past clients. They are our clients, and we need to constantly provide value to them. And like you said, you need to think about, okay, what is my target market? Where are these kids in their stage of life, their life? If one of your clients is pregnant and they're having another child, they may need more space. You just dropped a child off at college. You may need less space. And like you said, pulling equity out of the house. There are many different reasons to reach out to our clients at all times, but this gives us an opportunity to do so when agents think, well, it's going to be awkward if I call them up. I really don't have a reason. You always have a reason, and back to school gives them a good reason to call and follow up. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I love it. I'm so happy the structure is coming back into the office, into my life, into the kids' lives, back to school. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. So I wanted to end on this. And speaking of getting back to school, it is also a certain time of year that I love. All right. The fall in general, I love, but for a very particular reason. So I'm going to get into the last question with you. And since you just came back from dropping your daughter off at Clemson University, and since you yourself, I dug a little bit, and since you yourself are a graduate of Syracuse University, am I right about that?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Who would you say is the better all-time Philadelphia Eagle? Syracuse graduate Donovan McNabb or Clemson grad Brian Dawkins? And please keep in mind that there is only one right answer here.
You're putting me in a position, Jason, that I have to make a choice where everybody listening to this, I see that behind you, Philly invented grit. I can't win. Somebody's going to be angry. I mean, Clemson, it's going to be near and dear to my heart in 4 years. Okay. So if I had to choose, I would say I spent a lot more time at Syracuse so far. So I'd have to go with McNabb.
You broke my heart. Brian Dawkins is my all-time favorite player ever. So I put you in a no-win position. I do need to say that.
Go Cuse. Yeah, we love Syracuse, but my kids wouldn't even apply there. And my kids will be laughing, rolling on the ground, which they often do when they see me play golf. But they'll roll on the ground if they hear you asking me any sports-related question whatsoever.
Well, that was the other thing. I didn't even know if you know football at all. So, like, it's such a loaded question. I'm sorry that I did that to you.
I absolutely love football. When it comes to the Super Bowl, that one day I absolutely love. And it's hysterical because, I had two boys and they're, big into sports, and my husband's big into sports. And so then I had this little girl that I wanted to dress up in pink, put bows in her hair, and have her wear tutus, which she did until she had a choice. And, then she was out doing mulch in a tutu with a big pink bow. It looked kind of funny. But she is, after having these older brothers, a sports fanatic. She can tell you every player, all their statistics. I don't care if it's Formula One, ice hockey, which is her favorite, or football. This girl is so cool. And she's got me as a mom, the poor thing.
Well, just a side note. So growing up, I was obsessed with Syracuse. It was by far my favorite school outside of Villanova. I want to say, like, I was a Nova fan. But I used to love the Big East basketball. And Syracuse, there were certain players on Syracuse that I absolutely loved in high school. And so I was a huge Syracuse fan. So good for you. I never actually made it there because my grades were terrible. So I do admire the fact that you graduated from Syracuse. I have to say that.
Jason, I'm going to tell you a little secret. And don't let anybody else know, just between you and me. So Syracuse was not that hard to get into when I went. And now that it is, it's hysterical how my kids' friends are like, wow, Mrs. Civitella, you went to Syracuse? And I think about my grade point average, which I won't share. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And you know what? That makes all the difference. So study hard, everybody out there. So Jason, if you were as old as me, you would have gotten it.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know. You never saw my grades. So, so I wanted to thank you for doing this. I always appreciate talking to you. We have such good conversations when you and I have a few minutes to chat. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights when it comes to getting back to school. And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing you soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Jason, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That was the conversation with Wendy Civitella this week. Here are a few takeaways I had from talking to Wendy. Number one, sending the kids back to school gives us hopefully the time to refocus our energy on the remainder of the year. Vacations are over, summer is now over, the fall is right around the corner, and it's time to start gearing up not only for the remainder of the year, but also for the year ahead in 2024. What we do today really affects us about 3 months from now. So whatever you're working on now, usually you see the fruits of your labor 3 months from now. So that's going to put us right at the end of the year into that new year. So what are you working on today that's going to benefit your business moving forward? We should now be thinking about that with the start of the school year. Number two, how does the start of the school year present clever ways for you to reach your clients? Wendy and I discussed doing some school-related pop-bys or even sending some school-related handwritten notes. This is also a great time to start setting up your yearly real estate reviews with your clients, or even asking them to go grab some lunch, get some coffee. In this market, I really do feel like we need to be toe-to-toe, face-to-face with our clients in order to gain more business. And the start of the school year presents an opportunity for us to do that. The last thing that I wanted to touch upon are the organic networking opportunities that are given to us through our kids participating in all different kinds of activities. Those activities could be sports, they could be dance, acting, band, everything in between. We now have a chance to get heavily involved in something that we already care about, meet some new people, and gain more business for yourself. It's a win not only for your child, but also for you. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest, and as always, if you want to hear something that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the podcast or left us a review yet, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. Once again, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.